Hey guys, welcome back. It's Saturday. You're sitting on the spotlight, exclusive to the hashtag MagnaOnAir digital network, MagnaSearchGroup.tv. In the studio today, Rory McMillan, my co-host, my colleague.
Jason Berard. We're really excited. We've got the #1 results coach in the country sitting with us today. We're putting him under the spotlight, serial entrepreneur. Everyone welcome Shawn Shewchuk. Shawn, welcome to the show.
Shawn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited to have you, Shawn. My first question I always ask everyone in the spotlight is, who are you? What do you do?
That's a phenomenal question. So I guess who I am and what I do might be two different things. First of all, I would say I'm a dad, and I'm an individual that loves helping people. I've dedicated my life to that. The flip side of the coin is what I do is I've been very privileged to work with almost 7,000 people one-on-one, many more in different forms over the last number of years, and it's all about results.
Wow. And so you're a results coach. Is that different from? Is that a different type of coaching than most executive coaching, or?
So it's a great question, and here's the answer. There are a lot of folks out there to talk about what kind of a coach they are. I'm a business coach, executive coach, marketing coach, relationship coach. Mm-hmm. It comes down to results. We can talk about anything you want to, but at the end of the day, if you're not experiencing the results you want the need to see, it's irrelevant. And coaching is a holistic process. Everything comes out on the table. Everything. Yeah. Your relationship, your career, your business, everything. So at the end of the day, it's not necessarily only about business or life or marketing. It is about the results you see. One impacts the other. Life, business, career, life, whichever it is.
So in order to help educate our audience and our followers, Shawn, explain to us, what do you mean by results? Because that can be a variety of things, financial, personal.
And it is.
Okay.
And it is. And that's the idea. It's holistic. So if you have a challenge in your business or career, it's going to impact your personal life. And if you have a challenge in your personal life, whatever that happens to be, it's going to impact the other side, business or career as well. So results at the end of the day, it is what's happening in your life, in your relationships, your business or career. It's all of it.
So is the process then when you, say you're going to coach me, we lay it out on the table, and then you find the areas of the holistic, part of me that you can help me, achieve better results in? Is that it? And then we'll create a better version of myself. Is that kind
of like a matrix?
Like a matrix.
At some level, it's definitely a collaborative process. It's not about Shawn telling you who you should be or what you have to do. It's about determining collaboratively what it is you want to do, who you want to become, or what you want to build, and then working hand in hand and side by side with you to help you achieve that. The whole purpose of it is to avoid potholes. And this is interesting for a lot of folks because this goes against the norm. This goes against societal norms. If it's done the right way, you can collapse timeframes, and that's the key.
Interesting.
So Shawn, let me ask you, how do you become the #1 results coach in the country? Like, that's a big statement. There's a lot of coaches out there.
Sign too, in silver plated up there too.
It's right in the backdrop. Big plug. How do you become the #1 results coach in the country, Shawn?
Listen, the #1 results coach is a great statement, but let's be very clear. The best thing in the world, and the reason what gets me up in the morning, the thing that drives me, watching the transformation, whether it's business, whether it's life, whether it's career, whatever that happens to be. I've been and as I said to you, I think prior to going on air, I've had the privilege to work with almost 1,000 people one-on-one, many more in group settings and from the stage. The whole idea from based on what I do is so people see results. If you aren't seeing results, there's a challenge. And there are a lot of people that come to me and say, well, Shawn, it's impossible. I can't change, or I can't take that next step. And we get caught up in those paradigms, those things that maybe we've been conditioned to think, believe, and buy into, and therefore we don't take those next steps. So #1, very simply, is I've been very privileged to work probably with more one-on-one than anyone else. And the results that, let's put it this way, out of almost 7,000 people, less than 0.1% have not experienced results. Now, we're very selective about who we work with, let's be clear. But for those few that haven't, let me take this to a different level. If anybody thinks that they're going to work with me or anyone else for that matter, and that me or someone else can snap fingers and magic and pixie dust are going to fall from the sky and it's going to land in your lap, it's not going to happen. So the idea is it's a collaborative process. It's about finding out where you want to go and how you want to get there. And then it's about executing it in a way that gets you there faster. And so we can talk about goals and objectives too, if you want to, and how Jim Collins talks about big, hairy, audacious goals, and sometimes we set those, but aren't able to achieve.
Well, when you're coaching someone, what do you feel is the number one inhibitor to someone's results or someone's success?
It's fear.
Fear.
Simple. Absolutely.
Yeah. Fear kills more dreams than anything else will, right?
So how do you think? How can someone overcome fear?
Well, I don't know. That's an answer that for everybody is the same, and I think for a lot of folks, depending on what that fear is and what the level is, I think there's a healthy level of fear doesn't exist with the of in here. Should I jump off the roof of the building? Chances are not. The results are going to be disastrous. Yes. And those aren't the kind of results we want to see. But fear in certain things is, we teach children, if you watch a baby, for example, a baby has no fear, a child. As we grow older, we're conditioned to be fearful. And so throughout life, we're told what we can't do, or through a certain set of circumstances, we buy into something that this is our lot in life. Therefore, we can never go above that. So in order for us to shift what's going on in here, we have to get clear on what it is we want to achieve. How big is that why? Once that happens, pushing through that terror barrier isn't all that difficult. It really, we sometimes make it out to be 10 feet thick and made out of brick, but reality is it's tissue paper.
And it starts with why, right? It always starts with why in your pursuit.
It's the mindset. Results. It's the fear of failure. People are always,
I've said this before. I'm a farm boy from BC. And I'm stubborn as all get out, and I'll bang my head against the brick wall till I get through. And I may be bloody when I get to the other side, but I'll get there. And I think that's the key for a lot of people is we give up. The first sign of trouble, we give up. A lot of times when I'm working with salespeople, I'll ask the question, when does a sale actually start? And then if you really think about it, the sale doesn't start until the first no.
That's right.
Until it's just a conversation.
That's right. Absolutely. So explain to us what your childhood was like, Shawn. How did you become a coach? What made you decide one day that, I want to continue helping people?
At 13 years old, and this will really date me, I was in the back of a magazine, reading a magazine, and there was an ad. It said, help businesses succeed, something like that. And the internet didn't exist at this point in time. And my parents, I asked them to write a check. They wrote a check for, I think it was $12 or $13 for this book. And essentially, it was a watered-down version of management consulting. I grew up rural in southern BC. About the only thing I could have consulted with was the cattle. And after high school, I moved to Calgary, the big city, and I got a job and hated it. And I started knocking on doors and got thrown out. I very distinctly remember somebody grabbing me by the shirt and leading me to the door and saying, get out. And it took me about 6 months to land some contracts, and I did. Went back to school. And eventually worked my way up to I was working with a consulting firm in downtown Calgary. Okay. And I'd always done consulting on the side, and through that process realized you could have the best systems, procedures in the world. If you didn't have an engaged team, it was pointless. So started working on my own, and it morphed into working with executive teams, coaching. I've written a best-selling book, another one coming out in November, and I'm very privileged to work with a great many people, phenomenal people from all over.
And you motivate, or I say motivate, it's not the right term. You coach people all the time, but who coaches you? Who mentors you?
So I'm very privileged. I'll tell a story very, very quickly, and this may put a lot of folks come to me and friends and colleagues of mine. They talk about coaching, and they say, "Oh my goodness, it's so expensive." And I smile. And I say, "Can I always refer you to somebody who's a cheap coach?" And more often than not, they end up working with me. But many, many years ago, I had a conversation with Bob Proctor. And I joked that I had a full head of hair when that conversation happened, but we go back 15 or 18 years, 19 years, I guess. And his investment to work with him on one-on-one was thousands of dollars a month, which I didn't have. And I took that leap of faith, which, in all honesty, was probably the best thing I ever did. So I've worked with a lot of great people like Bob Proctor and Kyle Wilson, the founder of Jim Rohn International, and the list goes on and on and on with some of the phenomenal folks that I've been fortunate enough to work with and still do work with. Being a product of the product is key.
And that goes into the networking aspect, right? I know that you're involved in creating mastermind groups. What is for the people that don't know, what is a mastermind group, and why do people join them? Why do people create them?
So the closest thing I can associate a mastermind group with would certainly be a think tank on steroids. But the level it goes to after that is about contribution. If someone's getting involved with a mastermind group just they can take away, chances are it's not going to work for them. And the idea is if everyone comes there to add value, you're going to immense amount away for yourself at the end of the day. But if you're there to contribute, it will change it. So a mastermind group is a group of like-minded people getting together to contribute to each other's success or one another's success. And if done right, it's phenomenal. It's amazing. And I'm very privileged. I run a year-long group.
And these are groups that you put on, Shawn? Like this is part of your business and part of your plan when you bring a new potential customer on board?
So we have a coaching side of things. Some of it was with me. I take on at any given time, I only take on 10 individuals one-on-one. Okay. And we have other programs as well for folks that want something different or looking for something a little different. But yeah, so we have the Matrix Mastermind is a program year-long, meet once a quarter. And before I started this, as I traveled throughout the United States and Canada, I met with folks that had founded masterminds that have been around for 2, 3, and 4 decades. Understanding that about 98% of masterminds fail, I wanted to know what they had done to be successful for that long. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, there are a number of them, but one of the things they said is, if you're going to meet every time in the same room, the same boardroom, the same hotel, people are going to get bored, and they're not going to want to come. Mm-hmm. So we meet somewhere different every quarter. The next one coming up next month, actually in September, is in Carlsbad, just outside of San Diego. Wow! So every quarter will be somewhere new, somewhere different. It's a different topic. It's picked by the group. A location's picked by the group, and so it's very driven by the group. Mm-hmm. And we've got one gentleman, phenomenal individual who I've had the privilege of working with for some time, who's part of the group, and he was here on Thursday of last week. And I asked him, I said, how has this worked out for you? He said, I've doubled my business as a result of being involved with the mastermind. And that's what it's all about. He didn't come there with that. It's just what's happened as a result of the relationships that he's established and nurtured. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so how important, Shawn, is obviously helping people in your business? We talk a lot about this, don't we, Jason? Is we're in the business of always helping customers, helping people. We're here to provide them with a solution to their current recruitment needs when it comes to a problem. How important is that in your business? When you say helping, define what you mean, if you would, please.
I mean, like helping people, like people are coming to you with an issue, or there's a concern, or there's a problem in your business. Like, what are some of the first things that you look for in terms of helping these people get to that next level?
Well, I think we have to understand something. There are a lot of folks that think coaching is a fix-all. They think they're going to come and see me, and it's just magically going to happen. Yeah. I mean, I've had folks call us. A gentleman called me. Excuse me. Called me probably 4 weeks ago, and he had no money in the company. He had payroll for 30 people coming up in a week, and I'm the wrong professional to call. Yeah. Right. If you want to make changes, people always ask me, when's the right time to bring a coach in? Yeah. Now. And it's not simply because Shawn's saying that and I'm a coach. If you don't want to bring me in, don't bring me in. I'd love to work with a lot of folks, but understand something. If you can create it now, and it works for you down the road, the idea is creating not something that's just sustainable, but something that has a growth model to it. So you can continue to grow while working on the business and not in it. And I think that's the important part. So what do I look for? I look for folks that are motivated to change, to grow, and then help them. If there's somebody who isn't motivated to grow, maybe coaching isn't the right avenue. Right. You want someone that wants to have more in their life, right? More success, more business, want to get ahead, whatever it may be. Strong, powerful relationships, whether it's wealth, and wealth doesn't necessarily mean money, although it's part of it. Yes. All those things.
Yeah, you can't help those who don't want to help themselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Shawn, so is a lot of your business focus, would you say it's 90% business customers and then 10%,
like personal?
Yeah, personal.
You know what?
60-40?
I don't know that I can actually segregate the two. Yeah. Because I'll say this, I think everybody has at some level a desire to grow. They may not everybody may take that step, but business always comes into play, or the fact that somebody wants to step out of the norm and step into it. A lot of the folks we do work with are medium-sized businesses or the leadership within those companies. And then there are people that come to me, one-off individuals, and say, listen, I'm doing fantastic in my life, but I need to take it to the next level. I've been stagnant for the last 10, 15, 20 years. And so the best thing I can say to people, I don't care what it is, whether it's a new position, it's a new career, it's a new job, it's a new relation, whatever that is, take the action step. I had a gentleman come to see me last year, almost a year ago now, and I hadn't seen him in 10 years. And he hadn't taken those steps he said he was doing. And I said to him, where are you today in relation to where you were 10 years ago? And he hung his head and he said, nowhere. And I said, are you committed? And he finally said yes. So the idea is really, he had all his, for lack of a better way to put it, he had all his ducks in a row, and he could have done so much more than just the status quo for a decade.
Yeah.
If you're not growing, you're dying. That's what they all say, right?
So that's going to lead me to my next question, Shawn, is how do you keep your client on track? Because these are busy people, they're successful, or some of them maybe aren't so successful. They have a lot going on in their life. Like you said, some customers might be needing to worry about how they're going to cover the 30 people on payroll at the end of the month. Like, how do you keep your customers on track? Do you give them constant homework, or explain a little bit about your plan?
At the end of the day, you have to have a destination. And if the destination is big enough, it's going to drive you in that direction. So you need to break it down. What does that mean? If you can't eat an apple in one bite typically, okay? But if you break it down into bite-sized pieces, you can. So making sure you take a great big, hairy, audacious goal or strategic, break it down into bite-sized pieces that you can actually chew on. And creating, as you move forward, an accountability checkpoint. For some folks, it's every 30 days. For some, it's every 90 days.
Yeah.
What does it look like? Have I accomplished what I set out to? If you did, fantastic. If not, why not? And then keep doing that over and over again. So if we can understand those small pieces, we can build something much grander than perhaps we ever thought. Quantified action steps, but understanding what those steps are so you can hit those accountability checkpoints that you talked about.
Discipline.
It's interesting. You got this big plan, but you can't accomplish the big goal if you don't have, a measurable set of steps to get there, right?
And most people don't know how to break it down, though, and that's the key.
Yeah. I think disciplining yourself too as well, right? It's like when you're growing a business and you become successful, there's so many things that you could see yourself envisioning and having, and maybe you can afford, but it's like the discipline to not have it.
And
right?
so,
you need to understand what you should be doing and where you should be spending your money and what you should be purchasing.
Yeah. So networking and mentoring. What's one more vital component to someone's success? I know there's many, but if you could name one more, what would that be?
Well, network one aspect of it, but I think at the end of the day, if you look at how business is done with relationships. No one does multi-million-dollar deals by posting an ad on Craigslist or Kijiji. It doesn't happen.
Right.
So business deals, if you're talking business, are always done over, a coffee or a glass of wine or over dinner. And I think at the end of the day, if people start to understand relationships and relationship building and what strong, powerful relationships are and can lead to, relational capital is key. Your network equals your net worth.
Yeah.
That's if we want to break the one component down in business, it's about relationships, powerful relationships.
Interesting. Well, let's change the gears up a bit here.
So I got one more question before we get on to the other topics here, Shawn. Is that how important is selling in your business?
Yeah.
How important is it to really get a customer excited about your brand, yourself, what you do, what you've achieved, and really getting them excited about your program?
Well, I think we're all selling and we're all doing it all day long. So for those folks that say to me, Shawn, I can't sell or I don't want to sell, I don't buy it at all. I think it's that word, we put the word sell or sales on there and people get fearful. We're all selling. So if you're in business today, if you're not selling, you're not in business. And so do we have to sell? Absolutely. And we do every day. If you're not selling something, and this is interesting, a good friend of mine, Laura Langmeyer, star of The Secret, she says this, if you're not selling something every day, you're going to have some challenges come the end of the month.
Yeah.
So do we have to sell? Yeah, we sell. Of course we sell. What's the benefit? And I think that's the key. If the value is there, money is never an issue.
Well, it's crucial for survival these days.
Absolutely.
So changing up the gears, like I was going to do last time before that last question came in, you are stuck on a deserted island and you can't do anything to save yourself. So you have someone else that you don't know that you have to rely on to get you home safely. What is the one key component that this person needs to get you home alive?
So is that person on the island with me?
Yeah.
He's on the island with you.
They're on the island with you. You don't know them. You can't move.
He or she?
You're stuck in quicksand. You can't move.
It's irrelevant. It's a person.
It's irrelevant. You choose.
I don't know the answer to that question. I will say this. If I was stuck on an island, hopefully I'd be, the ingenuity would come out and I'd be able to put something together. But I'll say this. I think at the end of the day, if you're in a position where you don't see a road out, I think re-examining it. I think there's always something that you can do. There's always a solution. I think so often, whether it's a real scenario or if we can translate this to real life for the business world, we get focused on what the problem is, and we stay there. And if you look at some of the things that are happening today and around the world when we talk about problems, there are people in 2008 and 9 that made more money than any other time in history. More billionaires were created in 2008 and 9 than any other time. And those people that were there and did this, it was because they were looking for opportunities. So the only way I can answer that question is I'd be looking for the opportunity, or I'd be looking for whatever it was that would help me achieve what I set out to.
Yeah, that's really the goal of that question, is to translate it into the business side. So thank you for taking the full lead on that.
Maybe a coach. He needs a coach, right?
You need a coach. Yeah, you need to coach
to get him off the island.
Yeah, you got to coach him out. And okay, so what about if you're a superhero? Which one are you and why?
You know what? I was never the kid that I don't know was involved with the comics and superheroes, so I don't know if I can answer that question. The one thing I will say, and I'll tell you a story many years ago, and without mentioning names on air, I watched a gentleman speak from the front of the room, and I was a young guy, and I was at that point in time in my life, I was kind of the guy that sat at the back of the room, and I didn't want to be there. I was there because I had to. My employer at the time told me I had to show up. But I remember watching this individual from the front of the room, from the back of the room, watching from the front of the room, and I thought to myself, I aspired to be that individual at the front of the room who could help folks, who could motivate people. So my whole objective throughout life has always been to give back, and I'll share something if I can, if you'll allow me the latitude to do this. A lot of people ask me why I do what I do, and I'll share this. Bob Proctor says something that I believe, obviously. He says that none of us are getting out of this alive. And I'm told that when it's my time, my life flashes before my eyes. So not that I want to focus on that, but I want to ensure it's a movie worth watching. So if I'm able to positively impact just one person, I think I've gone way beyond that now, but it's all worthwhile. And that's the idea, is to create that ripple effect and be able to positively impact more people.
And so what's the next chapter then for you? I know that you say that, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. I know you've got some books, coaching, you've got a mastermind group. Is there other ways for you to diversify what you're doing? Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate, and I'm a little bit behind the curve in certain things in my life. I'm blessed to have a 4-year-old son at home, and about 7 or 8 years ago, I bought a home in an acreage in southern BC overlooking the Okanagan Valley.
Nice.
I've got a home there. I'm going to put a studio on it.
Cool.
And folks will fly to see me. I want my son to grow up on a little bit of more of an acreage or outside of the city. So that's kind of the objective. I've got another book coming out in November. And so always something new and exciting on the go. Very privileged working on a couple of the other deals right now. But the whole idea is getting to a point where, and I think I've achieved that. I mean, I probably take 2 or 3 months holidays every year. But the idea is the freedom. And I think for everybody and those who are listening and watching this, freedom is defined this way: the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want. That's it.
Yeah. Money
affords you that freedom. So for those people that come up to me or anyone else and say it's not about the money, they're right. It's about what money can do for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I do find that the folks that say that typically don't have any.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if you went to them and said, "Hey, I've got 4 cruise ship tickets. You want to go?" I'm sure they'll go, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course.
And so how can people find you, Shawn? Like, what are the best ways that people can find out about you, find out more about you?
How can people connect with Shawn Shewchuk?
Well, the best way, you can go to our website, changeyourresults.com.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter is Shawn Shewchuk, and of course all over Facebook. If you punch Shawn Shewchuk into any search engine, there's probably a ton of well, I know there's hundreds of hits out there. A copy of the book if they want, Amazon or any of the other websites. The name of the book is Change Your Mind, Change Your Results.
And last thing, if you could end this spotlight interview on one thing, you could coach our viewers or our listeners in under 2 sentences, what would you like to say to them?
I think the biggest thing that 2 sentences might be tough for me, but the most important thing I would say to them is this. Everybody has a dream. Everybody has an objective. Everybody has a goal. They may not have articulated or put it on paper. Brian says, think on paper. And Tracy says, think on paper. Take that goal and objective, blow it up, double it, quadruple it, whatever that looks like, and start taking action today. Mary Morrissey says you can climb Mount Everest, but you have to take the first step.
Yeah.
I think that's key.
Take action, take action, take action. You
and the
heard
time
it.
is now. The time is now. Listen to Shawn Shewchuk. He'll tell you first. The
For
time
our audience,
is now.
for our community, the time is now. Take massive, massive amounts of action.
Quantify
and,
your steps.
Focus
achieve
on
your
being
goals,
great.
And don't be fearful.
Thank you so much, guys. It's Saturday. You're sitting on the spotlight. A big thank you to Shawn Shewchuk for sharing his time and his wisdom with us today. It was an absolute pleasure having you. Make sure you check us out on YouTube, SoundCloud, subscribe to our iTunes network. This interview is going to be distributed on multiple varieties of content, and we're definitely excited to have you part of the show, Shawn. And tune in. #MagnaOnAir, MagnaSearchGroup.tv. Rory McMillan, Jason Berard. We'll see you next week.